Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 16 days away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very excited and worried about is exactly how JJ is really going to utilize the entire film in a way that it will connect to the prequels and the originals in its own way, shape, or form. Now, we do know that Episode 9 is going to be a very dark Star Wars movie. Maybe it won't be the darkest of the entire Skywalker saga as JJ hopes to be, but nonetheless, it will have a very dark ending within the final scene of Episode 9, which we will be going over today, about all the different adjustments that Disney and Lucasfilm actually went through throughout the months of August, September, and October. Now, what's really intriguing is that, of course, Disney and Lucasfilm actually view this movie as a very important film because it will determine the future of the franchise and exactly where things will stand for Disney Plus and their new trilogy and all their other Star Wars projects. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that it's explained that through many of the reshoots and rewrites of the film, it's explained that Disney and Lucasfilm went through many changes and adjustments throughout the months of August, September, and October. It's explained that one of the major changes by Disney and Lucasfilm involved how they handled the final scene of the movie in comparison to the initial cut of the film. It's explained that during one of the original segments of the final scene of the movie, it's explained that there was a scene shot between Hayden Christensen and Ian McDiarmid, where both Anakin Skywalker and Palpatine were originally going to have a final battle against each other, where Anakin was actually said to be the original character to destroy Sidious once and for all. It said that the scene was 80% complete and that Disney decided to cut the sequence since they wanted to not focus away from the character of Rey and have her destroy Palpatine and to become the Chosen One. It said that originally Anakin's Force Ghost and all of the other Force Ghosts of the past would surround Palpatine and take him into the netherworld of the Force to destroy him with his dark side energy that would diminish into nothing. It said that this original scene by Disney was going to establish that Anakin would be the Chosen One still and would keep that title, however this was all changed. Another segment of the final scene that was deleted involved both Ben Solo and Rey fighting Palpatine in another cut of the film, where they were originally going to both destroy Palpatine as a team. Ben Solo would use Leia's lightsaber where Rey would use Anakin's, and that the sequence was going to also allow Ben Solo to have a far different death that would have been near similar to Darth Vader's death, where he would give his final words to Rey. Now in the final cut of the film, it's explained that Ben Solo just falls into a bottomless pit, never to be seen again at all. There was even a scene in the final segment in which that both included Luke Skywalker and Palpatine meeting again in the throne room. However, that too was also deleted to change the overall tone of the third act of Episode 9. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and then why these changes by Disney and Lucasfilm are honestly by far the worst changes that you could really make for a Star Wars movie. Now, when we look at The Rise of Skywalker, this film really has a lot going for itself. This movie really needs to perform well at the box office and it needs to resonate with fans around the world in order to make it a successful movie. And with all the decisions that Disney and Lucasfilm have been making for Episode 9, it really seems like that they really have just made the worst decisions possible for different segments of this film. I want to go over the final sequence of Episode 9 and what could have been based on what they shot, what they deleted, and what they replaced with those scenes. So there was actually going to be an original segment in which Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost would destroy Palpatine himself in the actual throne room battle. Now, this was all said to be modeled after Star Wars Legends. In case you guys did not know, Palpatine's death in the EU was actually by getting dragged into the netherworld of the Force by a Jedi, and that's exactly how Palpatine officially died in the old expanded universe back in the 1990s, specifically in the Dark Empire comic line. So that was one aspect that really should have, I believe, remained in the film. You know, when we look at Palpatine and when we look at Sidious, the man who destroyed Anakin Skywalker and turned him into Darth Vader, you would think that they would at least allow Anakin Skywalker to have some kind of limelight in the throne room battle scene to at least confront Palpatine at minimum. However, there's no existence of Anakin Skywalker anymore in the final scene of Episode 9 other than just a Force Ghost voice that reaches out to Rey while she's actually unconscious and getting herself up to fight Palpatine. So obviously the fact that they took out Anakin and they took out all the other Force ghosts to destroy Palpatine once and for all in one of the cuts of Episode 9, I think is yet another disaster about the third act of Episode 9 and exactly the decisions that they actually chose for this movie. Now, the one other thing that I also want to go over that I think a lot of fans are going to be very critical about is that, of course, the final scene of Episode 9 was originally going to include a segment in which Ben Solo's death was far different than the current death that we have in Episode 9. So the current death is that Ben Solo essentially falls into a bottomless pit, never to be seen again, and that's it for Ben Solo. So the original cut involved a segment in which Ben Solo would actually be dying slowly, giving his final words to Rey before he would die in the hands of Rey. Honestly, that's a better death than what Ben Solo gets in The Rise of Skywalker, in my point of view. I know a lot of fans out there are not a fan of Ben Solo's death being ambiguous. Basically what happens is he falls into a bottomless pit, into the abyss, never to be seen again, and there's no explanation at all on whether or not Ben Solo became a Force ghost, or became one with the Force, or maybe even survived at that. There's really no telltale sign of exactly what happened to Ben Solo, other than the fans are actually led to believe that he is dead. So essentially his fate is left ambiguous, yet they're actually killing off Ben Solo. So they're ending the Skywalker saga, they're not going back to the saga at all. At least as of right now, unless they really do want to change their mind. That could very well be their insurance if they ever want to tell more stories about Kylo Ren. It's possible, but I still believe that's very slim. I just think that this is JJ's way of writing a Star Wars movie. So, the fact that they cut out Anakin Skywalker's presence in the very ending of Episode 9 to fight Palpatine and to destroy him once and for all, I think was by far the biggest mistake that Disney and Lucasfilm could have ever made. I will be honest with you, I really do believe that that is by far the biggest mistake that you can make in a Star Wars movie. So with that being said, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this particular segment, because in this segment, there was also going to be a moment in which Luke would appear in front of Palpatine. That too was also cut. You actually may recall that we went over this a couple of months ago, where there was a scene filmed between Mark Hamill and Ian McDiarmid, filming scenes together inside of his throne room, where both Ben Solo and Rey would actually be watching the battle from behind. Now, what's exciting about that is that originally we were going to have a moment in which Luke would actually give a smirk to Palpatine before he would vanish into thin air. And I think that would have been quite an epic moment for fans. I think it would have been a very legendary scene for fans to actually see on the big screen. And I think it's just very unfortunate that we're not getting those scenes in the final cut of Episode 9, and how they really dialed down the screen time of Palpatine, in this movie by 30%, give or take. They really cut out a lot of content that's either going to make it to the Blu-ray or not make it to the Blu-ray in either March or April of next year of 2020. And the last piece I just want to go over here real quick is that, of course, Rey becomes the Chosen One. I think that's one thing that's going to divide the fans, is the fact that Rey becomes the Chosen One in The Rise of Skywalker is really going to be something that I think that a lot of fans are not going to really agree with. George Lucas himself even said before in the past that Anakin is and always will be the Chosen One. There's no changing that. And that's exactly what Disney is changing in Episode 9, which I honestly think is not a good decision at all. If you have Anakin Skywalker as the Chosen One and a part of the Chosen One prophecy, you should stick with that idea and just roll with it. That's my take on things. I think that making Rey the Chosen One just doesn't make too much sense, because she is a Palpatine by blood, and she's going to steal the Skywalker name as well. And she's also going to take the Chosen One prophecy, or the Chosen One title, and be a part of that prophecy, I should say. So you can see how essentially everything revolves around Rey from the very beginning of, the entire Chosen One prophecy. They're setting it up like the prophecy itself was never really about Anakin, but it was really all about Rey. And then Anakin was basically just a little segment, a little, shift in the actual prophecy itself, waiting for Rey to actually fulfill everything to destroy Sidious once and for all. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.